Today we are learning the Zustand library. The Zustand is primarily the state management library which is used in the React and Next.js also, and it solves the problem of prop drilling and re-render. So by using Zustand library, our primary goal is to minimize the re-render across the front end. So this is the action flow of today's video. First we will use useState, then context API, and then Zustand. We realize the useState has the problem of prop drilling and re-rendering. That's why we are using context API. The context API solves the problem of prop drilling but not the re-rendering. Then after that we are using the Zustand library to solve the both of the problem, which is prop drilling and re-rendering. Let's see how it goes. This is our app structure. Our folder structure looks like the app component holds three child component: header, products, and footer. And header holds its card count component, product holds its product card component, and footer holds it card count 2 component. So when I press add to cart button, the count should go up to the 2. Here is also 2 by using useState. So let's see how it goes. This is our app structure. Let me show you side by side so that we can understand clearly. This is our app structure in the right in Accelerator, and this is our exact app structure looks like. App contains header, products, and footer. App contains header, products, and footer component. Here is header, products, and footer component. Headers hold headers hold card count component, card count component 1. Here it is, headers hold card count component 1. Product holds product card component add to cart. The product, this component holds product card component, which is this. Here is a button to add to cart. When I press that button, the count should go up. And footer is also hold cart count 2 component. This footer is also hold cart count 2 component, which is this. Okay, so our final application looks like something like this. Cart count 1 component should have count, and cart count 2 component is also should have count. Let's say 1 and 1. Let's say how it is this going. So this is our structure looks like. If you can see it correctly, this is our final structure looks like. My intention is when I press add to cart button, the count should go up. Okay, so let's get it. Let's make it work via useState. Let's use useState here. Const count set count is equals to useState. The first is count is 0. Then we need the count holds this uh, number that we provide initially, and the set count holds a function where we can update this count. So notice where this and this supposed to render where the number should render in the card count 1 component, where the card count component 1 inside the header, where is header inside that. So we need to pass count into just a second, the error comes up. Okay, we need to pass the count okay. Pass down the count. Also we have to catch this count here, and header does not use this variable. This component use this variable. So we first provide it into the header catch it, and header pass it down further. So header pass it down to the card count 1 component. Card count 1 component catches this count and render it here. Simply count. Let's see, here it renders, but here is not rendered because we are not providing that. So same card count because it needs to the footer. Then where is footer? Footer catches that count first and then passes it down to the card count 2 component. Here is card count 2 component. We need to catch that count and we need to render it here. Simple, just a simple stuff. Okay, now the count is rendered, but when I press this add to cart button, it should go up to the 1, but it is not going because we are not using the set count. So where we supposed to use this? In the product card component, here we should use this. So here we have to use this function. So we need to assure that it should need the set count function. How it provide just like this. In the products we pass the set count. Here we catch that set count. Products is not use set count, so we pass further, and product card is not use that. Products is not use that. Product card will use that function set count. Then when I click on the add to cart function, what should happen? The set count function should call with the current plus 1. So when I click this, here, this function should run. And set count will call. The set count says whatever the current value. The current value is 0. Let's get the current value and update it by 1, added by 1. So okay, So when I click here, the number goes up. This is the use state. So can you see the problem here? The problem is called as prop drilling. Problem is here called as, what are we using? Use state for the state management. And what is the problem it causes? The problem of prop drilling. The problem of prop drilling. What is prop drilling? Notice the counter one card needs a count variable. We need to define the counter variable in the app component. If we don't do this, we do this like this, here it does not needs to catch this, but and use it here. But this count variable also needs card count component, and the React only allows the parent and child communication. So this component and this component, there is no relation between these two components. And also this set count function needs into the product card component. So can we just a second. Okay, can we put useState into the header, which is what is the parent of this header? We can. Here we don't need this, but the problem remains same. The count component, the count variable needs here, and the set count component needs here. So that's why we cannot use this. So that's why we are defining the use state into the app component. App component pass it down to the header, products, and footer. The count and set count is passed. Notice header does not use the count. Still, it needs to catch the count and pass it down to its child component. The child components needs it. That's why it's catching out and using it. So you notice the let's say here is a another component, card count 2 component, function card count card count 3 component. Card count 2 is existed. Card count 3 component okay. David. It needs to render this variable. So it needs to render the current. So what we can do here is render the card count 3 component and pass down the count here as a prop. What is the okay, and here we need to catch it, count, and here we need to render it. Oh sorry, like this. If you need to execute the JavaScript, you need to use that curly braces, so our application works. But here is the problem same. Header app component does not, of course app component does not use the count and set count, but still it needs to handle this. Header component uses it, header component does not uses it, but still it needs to hold that component to pass down, and card count one component is also not uses it, still it needs to catch it and it needs to pass it down and here. So this is called as prop drilling, the problem of prop drilling. So what we do is just a second, our app is perfect. Okay, first problem. Second problem is what? I have this extension called React. What is the name? React Developer Tools. This is a Chrome extension. You can download it, and after downloading, inspect and goes to the components icon, and in the setting it should tick. What it does it when the components update, it should tell. When the components re-render, it should tell us. See, when I click this add to cart button, the card count component is the card count one component should re-render because it updates the number. The card count component should re-render because it renders the number. But why the product card component is rendering? Do you see the three box here? Product card component is also re-render. Card count 2 component also. Product card component is also rendered. So that's the problem of re-rendering. To solve the problem, what is the problem? Re-rendering. Rendering. I don't know. Okay. So what we use now? Let's see. The useState is done. What problem it what is the problem? The prop drilling problem arrives and re-render problem is also arrived. So we use context API. Let's see how it goes. Context API. So to use the context API, now we use context API. So how the context API should we use? We need to create the context. We can create it another file, but it's okay. First is, let's see, just a second. Count context. What is the context? Count, and we need to define the context here. Create context. The context is created, and whenever we need that context, the context I simply mean whenever we need these variables, wrap that count context into this. Let's see. Count context dot provider, like this. We need headers, we need context, we need the variable of count and set count, header, products and footer. That's why I wrap it inside the div. But notice I wrap it into the context provider, but what the value should it provide, what the context should it broadcast, I'm not providing it. So what is the value we need? We need the object, inside that object count and set count is there. We're providing a object, we're providing value, inside that it um, it should provide us object, and in this object count is there and set count is there. Then notice we don't need this, we don't need this, we don't need this. Also we don't need to catch this like this. We don't need this, we don't need this. We cannot because it uses we don't need to catch this, we don't need to catch this. Okay, so how do we catch the variable? How do we catch the variable to render here? Of course it throws, now it throws error like this. It throws a lot of error. Count is not defined. Line number 43. Line number 43. The count is not defined. Obviously, the count is not defined inside the component. So we need to use the context to get that count. So const count is equals to what we need. We need to use the context. Use context with what is our context name, this count context. So let's see. Okay, done. Let's see, and here we don't need, oh sorry, use context returns an object, because what we are returning, what we are defining an object with count and set count. It returns an object with count and set count. So we need to catch that. We need to catch that count, and we need to catch that set count. Set count. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. So can you notice the prop drilling problem is solved? Here we pass, first we pass count, here we pass set count, here we pass count again, here it catches the count, here it passes the count, catches count, passes set count, catches count, passes set count, here we catch, here we use. So the problem is not anymore of prop drilling. It solves the problem of prop drilling. So how it solves? We just need to define the create context in the variable like count context, and I just, this one line can create the context. What does it mean, create the context? It means when you create the context, it broadcasts the value, it broadcasts this value like text here. What is here? Create the context. We need to create the context and create, then we need to wrap into the provider. and we need to pass the value here. And what is the value? Object with count at set count. Notice we need to use the useState here also. We does not, the context API does not get rid of the useState. We still need to use the useState. Okay, and only it is not, a context API is not the state management. It is for the providing the value. It's just a changing way of transporting one value to another. First, how we transport the value, count and set count from here, then catch it here, pass it here, like that. Now with using the context API, the value should define only once and use it whatever we need, whenever we need. Define this value, and it, when I define this value, when this code runs, the something, the context is broadcast, the React is broadcast this value, and when I call call card count one component, which is this, when I call use context with count context is this, which is we are defining. Use the context, it says give me the value, give me the overall value what is defining here. So it gives this object to the caller. So, and we need to destructure whatever we need here count, that's why we are destructuring count. Here we need set count, that's why we are destructuring set count. Same here. So notice this solves the problem of prop drilling. The problem is solved. But what is the second problem? Second problem is re-rendering. Problem. Let's see the re-rendering problem solves or not. The re-rendering problem is not solved yet. This is re-rendering, I agree, but this should not re-render. Product card should not re-render. So that's why the context API holds a problem of what? Re-rendering. Re-rendering might be spelling will be. Let's focus here. Context API solves the problem of prop drilling, but it is not solve the problem of re-rendering. Okay. The context API is also done. Now we use Zustand and see how the Zustand behaves, how the Zustand is created, how the Zustand library is used, and how it solves both problems, the prop drilling and the re-rendering problem. Also one thing, when I click this, the whole component renders. Why? Because when I use the context, notice what I said, it provides all the object. If the count changes, the React thinks the object is changed. Means this is changed. So React will tell these and this, all the component, all the providers, sir, object is changed, although this is not changed, but this changed. But React will never know that the count is changed or set count is changed. So that's why we are seeing the re-rendering all across the components. So now we use the stand library. To use the stand library, we first need to install it. npm install the stand. I think I already have it. Yes. And npm run dev. Okay. Now we use the Zustand library. First, to use the Zustand library, we can all uh, do is this. We can all first we can get rid out of context provider. Let's see. We don't need this. Like we don't need this. We also don't need this div. Then here we don't need the context. We don't need context. For here we render it. Okay. We render one component and okay. Yeah. Now our application is like this. We are going to use the Zustand library. Okay. So let's go. To use the Zustand library, we can create the folder called store. This is not necessary, but for the standard practice we need the what is the store, what is the name of the store, name of the file, count. Let's see, count store, count store.js. Here we are going to define the store. So what is called a store? Store is simply called as the defining library. First we need to import Zustand. What we need to import? The create. Zustand provides us create function, const use count, just bear with me 2 minutes, then I will push. Okay, I think like this. Okay, okay. Zustand, we need to define our store. A store is what basically this. Store is basically this. We need to define this and this store. So we just define a count. For the simplicity, we just define the count. Ignore the syntax for now. We just define the count now. Let's say count is initially 1. That's it. We are defining the store, and also we need to export this because we need to import this. Where we need to import this, the count needs here and here. For now we are where using count is equals to what the variable name use count store. Import the use count store, importing the use count store from this file, and just ignore for now. I just check is this workable or not. That's why. Oh, sorry. Okay, this is working now. So what is the Zustand? Zustand provides the create function, provides us a create function. Why? To create the store. What does it mean? We need to create, let's say we does not create any object for now. The object is empty. Okay, how the create works? The create works when we call create function, it expects another function as an input, and it expects to return an object. What object we need to create? We need to create the count. The count should be 11 first. Let's see, is it? Yeah, it is 11. When create function expects another function as an input, and that function should return an object that we need, just like in the useState we define the count and set count variable. Here we need to only define the count. Set count we will see soon how to define the set count, what is the reason. So this is like we defining. Okay, count variable expects a function, and this is a shorter way to return an object like this. It's a 20. Okay, it returns an object. This is called as what? Store. This is primary called as store. So this is primary called as store. Now notice at this stage, at the current stage, what our store looks like. The in our store, the 20 count variable, which is the value of count is 20. So our 20% problem is solved. But how we define the just a second. We define the store, but how we use it? Notice the variable name use counter store. We just simply export this, and we simply import here, and we tell React in the store, in this store, I don't want full object. Let's say this holds also theme variable. Okay, but I don't need this yet. Still I defining there. So our store should look like this at the current stage. Our store look like this, and I'm exporting this, here I'm importing this use counter store. Here what React expect, what the Zustand expects, that when I let's say when I call this, it holds, do you see, it holds count and theme variable, but I don't need the theme. You can also use this count dot count. You can also do this, but when you update the count, Zustand thinks whole the count object is changed, and Zustand also thinks the theme is also changed. So that's why the re-rendering problem occurs. So that's why we are using like this. Why like this is that just 1 second. Okay, I understand. Zustand says use the counter store that we define. What we are defining, what we are creating, we are created the function, and inside that function there is object, and in the object we need a specific thing. So React expects I want that specific thing, I want this count. So that's why I'm not calling directly this, I am calling like this function. It's an anonymous function. Return what we need to return. I want current state, of the object. This state variable holds this state variable holds okay, this state variable holds this object. So what I need to return, what I need this. So state dot count, I need to return it. Okay, and it holds here. Let's see, is this work? Okay, this works. If I make it 21, it should be 20. Okay, it expects a function because we need a specific value, and this state variable means our full state of the object that we are defining here. Okay, and we just simply need to return what we need according to our convenience. So shorter form of this is this: state holds full function like this, and we need to return only its count. This is a shorter path. That's simply all the Zustand users should recommend or mostly use this syntax. Okay, if we need let's say if we don't need like count, we need theme. So theme, and here is also theme, and here is also. What should you think? It renders dark. Okay, so when I use this, when I call this use counter store, and it returns the count, which means this component, this cart1 component, is only subscribed to the count, not only subscribed to the whole object, just like context API did. This line tells us that, hey, this component, cart count1 component, only subscribed to this value. If this value changes, then only this component render and its child component render. If let's say here the other component, let's say screen component here, so this also render because uh, it is a child of the card count one component. So it says if this change, then only I will re-render. If this change, I will not re-render. Okay, this line states that. Let's do it in practical. If the count changes, the component is re-rendering. Now, although the whole component is re-rendering, but wait for the minute, we will see. But notice this change, themed variable change. This is not. Okay, we are defining this. That's why the whole app component is re-rendered. But the point is that's how we are defining the state variable. Define is defining here also. Okay, and also we don't need the use state anymore, and here we use that count. Okay, now we are using the count here and here, but here we don't need count, we need set count, which is we are not defining currently. We are defining only count and theme. Okay, let's say we are defining the set count also. Set count. Set count is what? Set count is function. When the set count is run, when the set count is called, this function runs. And what is the purpose of the set count function? To update this variable. To update this variable, to update the count, we need the current count. So how can we get the current count? The Zustand provides, when we define the function, it provides a function called set. What the set did? The set means we need to set the value. By calling the set, we need to set the value. Let's say I need the okay, let's say I need the count to be 1. When I call the set count function, this function runs, and set means set the value. Our store look like this. Okay, our store look like this currently, where the count is 211. I simply said the count should be 1. Okay, let's use this. Here we need to use this in the product card component, const set count use count store. Here what we need whole object? No, we need only set count variable. We need only this variable. So state hold the object, and I need this. Okay, when I call this, it simply returns this function. This exact function returns to here, and I just need to call this. I don't need to like current, what is the current value and what is the, I just want to call it like this. Okay, let's see. When I call this, what is the current value? 211. Okay, when I call set count, when I call this function, what it says, set the value of the count, set the value of the count to be 1, set the value of the count to be 1. Okay, okay, so this is it. Now I don't need the value to be 1, I want the value, I want the count should go up to the 1. So so just like we did here, we also need here. Here by calling the function, here we get the current state, the current object state. Okay, just like this, it holds the current object. What we need, I need state dot count to be what, +1, where it should be in the count variable, in the count key. Remember, this is object, so we follow the syntax of key and value. This is a key which is count, and we say the current, give me the current state, which is this, which is whole object, and I need only this state dot count. Then I get this here, like 211 plus 1, like this. Okay, when let's when I run this line, it gets the whole state, and we say I don't need whole state, I need only set count. The set count variable goes here, like this hold this. Okay, and this hold this function. We simply call this function on click, this function runs, and we need to set its value. I need the current state for the value, and I need to update this state. Okay, let's see it works or not. This works. Okay, when I value made it to the 0, this works. Do you see? Okay, let's get rid of this and get rid of this. What we did here, here we only define the use counter store, we only define our object and exporting that object and use it here. This is redefining the store, and this is using that store, okay. So my question is, what if we could do like this? This returns whole current object. What this returns whole object, although I don't need this object here. But let's see, we are defining this. What we need to render here, if we have whole object, I want to render its count. So when I press add to cart button, the React thinks, the Zustand thinks the whole object, the count is object, the count is inside the object, but it holds the whole object. When I execute this line, it provides whole object that we don't need, but still it provides whole line. which means this component subscribes to the whole object, which means any changes in the object should trigger the re-render, should trigger the whole object to be rendered. Whole object is what? Whole object is this. This is the current object. Okay, this is the current object. The React thinks when I change the count, the React thinks the object is whole object is changed. So that's why it re-renders all the objects, it also re-renders set count. So you said okay. So we don't use this, we use this syntax. Now you notice we the problem of prop dealing is gone. Problem of prop dealing is gone. Okay. The problem of prop dealing is gone. The problem of prop drilling is gone? Yes. The problem of prop drilling, the problem of re-rendering is also gone. Do you see the here, and when I click here, the card count 1 and card count 2 component only re-renders. Product card component is not re-rendered because the value of this is not changed. It holds only that function. The re-rendering problem is also solved. Okay. So the Zustand is also done. But one more thing I would like to add, that if I want that only you should re-render, I wish you should increase the variable only if even. What should I define? Increase if even, it is a function. Okay. It needs set where it needs the set where sorry, the function should run, but it needs to set the value like this. I can simply write like this, and let's say we are adding another button. Okay. Increase if we need to define the now what we are going to do is we need to increase only the variable is even. So we add a button. We are going to define the function here, and return a button. Okay, button which says increase if you want. Okay, so what should it expect? It expects increase if even function, increase if even this function. How we get it? By using use counter store. What we need only that, we don't need whole object, we need only that use increase if even function. Okay, and on the and when I click, okay, when I click increase if 1, it is increasing the by 1, but it is not supposed to do. It is just behave like add to cart. Okay, increase if 1. What we need is increase if even. Increase the variable if it's only even. We don't need, we need to set the variable, but only we need to set variable when the variable is even. So Zustand provides another function here, get. Get simply means I want get current count const current count is equals to, I will need to get the current count. I need to get, when I call this, it provides me whole object, but I don't want the whole object. I just need only the count variable. I just need the current count variable. So we add logic. If the current count is even, then if the current count is even, then you increase that value, otherwise you should not increase that value. Okay, if the current well, let's log it here also, current count. Okay, 0 means current count is even. Oh sorry, current count, the current count returns the object, as the log here says, object count set count, that function. Okay, let's see, I don't know. Okay, the current count returns us whole object. Okay, so the get function should called like this, I think. I don't know, let's see. Oh, the get function should call like this. Get function returns whole object. We need only the count object. The current count goes here. It checks the current count is even or not. If it's even, let's increase the value. If it is not even, the condition is not true and the value should not increase. The value is 0, which means it should increase. But when I press again, value is 1, it gets 1 here, and it is not, 1 is not even. That's why this condition is not true and the value is not increasing it. But when I make it even, is this even? Yes, is this even? So this function, when I call this function here, it returns this function. Okay, it holds this function. I just simply need to call this function. This function runs when I call increase if even. Okay, the code calls this and we need to get the current count. So we get current count like this. Okay, current count holds 3. Okay, condition check, it is not met, so it is not increasing. If it is 4, the 4 value get store here, because the current count is 4 stores here. It meets even criteria and the value should be stayed. Okay, Okay. So this is all the Zustand. Zustand solves the problem of both prop drilling and re-rendering. Okay, so this is the folder structure, and I will provide this code link into the GitHub into the description on GitHub link. This solves the problem of both prop drilling and re-rendering. Okay, so thank you for watching. Bye bye.